Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley, here for your episode on April 3rd, 2021 with the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior Christian. A very happy April Fool's couple days past to you, my friend.
Yeah, you know what's funny? This is slightly off topic, but I was talking to my girlfriend last night, and she was like, I can't believe, April Fool's is even acknowledged anymore. And I was like, in the gaming space, this is my most dreaded day of the year. I don't know who decided in the games industry to just make April Fool's Day a thing, but I was like, yeah, other people probably don't care about April Fool's. They don't have to worry about it.
So my thing with April Fool's Day is I don't hate it as much as everyone else does, because there are some cool things that come out of it, because at this point, you're right, everyone just knows about it, right? Like no one's
Right.
People do get fooled, but not as much, because everyone is just incredibly anxious that day. But like, for example, with Control, the Remedy game, they had like a really cool PlayStation 1 effect, and they released like a few minutes of gameplay of Control, which came out in 2019, what that would look like as a PlayStation 1 game. So they got some small, cool little things on April Fool's Day that I appreciate.
Yeah, that's the thing. I saw it first when I woke up, and then I was like, oh, right. So, thankfully, though, Marvel's Avengers was not hit with any April Fool's Day things. I'm pretty sure the MCU was hit with some April Fool's Day posts recently, but we aren't talking about any of that stuff. This is an official real news podcast for Marvel and Marvel's Avengers.
We have standards.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be covering, of course, some updates on the game Clint, a new insight into how skins are going to be working, specifically the MCU skins, and of course in the later half of the show, going over episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But as we do every week, we're going to kick the show off the way we normally do with Fury's Report, running through the missions and what's new this week with Marvel's Avengers. If you want to hop in and grind out some gear, the low power level mission is the Inhuman Condition. I cannot tell you which one that is. I know I've read that one for many of our episodes, Jack, but that's the low power one.
I want to say that's the threat level or the threat sector mission in Utah, maybe in the canyon area where you got to go help the Inhumans.
Okay, I was
You
gonna
also
say
just ever forget that there are Inhumans in this game.
I know, dude. I thought about that at the end of the Hawkeye expansion. I was like, remember when this game's thing was the Inhumans? What happened?
Yeah, because that's the whole Ms. Marvel's in Inhuman, and that's the whole sort of guiding theme of this game, and a big portion of this is protecting Inhumans after they're being experimented on by AIM. And you kind of forget that months removed from this game, because that's not really a thing you pay attention to.
Yeah, but the other thing for this week, the high power level mission is Our Town, which once again, in my mind, Jack, I thought the Inhuman one was maybe that's the one with the suburbs in Utah, and then there's Our Town, which has town in the name. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, I think that's the only way you can access that area in the map is the suburban area in Utah with a weird lab there as well. I believe that's Our Town.
Yes, well, if you want to get some high power level missions in this week, that is your first one. And if you do the Harm Room Challenge this week, any level of it, you will be rewarded with the Incredible Hulk number 25 from 2001. But, Jack, the marketplace is up to something this week. Give us a rundown. What's up with the marketplace right now?
So, Christian, we talked last week about the potential of having similar skins across the board for each character, almost like a uniform. We did. Yeah, we talked about how Stark Tech at the end of the Avengers main quest line, everyone has Stark Tech outfits, and you can basically put them all on all your characters, so your home screen, when you open up the game, everyone kind of looks the same, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about the potential for the MCU skins to maybe do that, and maybe War for Wakanda, everyone has, I think you mentioned this, everyone has nanotech Wakandan vibranium armor, so that when you boot up the game and you equip that on all your characters, if you choose to get all those, everyone kind of looks the same, and it's nice and neat, right? So that potential has already been achieved because Marvel's Avengers, Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics decided to release the Aerospace outfits for each and every character. And to describe that, it is basically a white and gold themed skin for each character. Some look better than others, let me tell you. So yeah, basically every character, you can get one of these for every character. I believe they're 900 credits. They're not like the 1400 ones.
Yeah.
And you can mix and match. You can get them for all your characters if you want, or just a certain amount. And yeah, they did it. They did it, Christian.
Now, I think we have multiple takeaways here. The first and most important one, obviously, being that the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast has some pull when it comes to Crystal and Square, so you're welcome. But
Yeah, they pulled that around in a week, Christian.
yeah, really impressive. Like Crystal, just call us. Like I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, you don't need to subtweet us. You can add us.
But more importantly, I think this is an awesome idea. Honestly, like we talked about it last week. I forgot we did, but yeah, I think this is exactly the right idea of what to do with the marketplace going forward. Like maybe we don't have something like this every week, but they did post in the War Table blog. They showed all the suits. They showed the full lineup, and there are two in the shop right now. It is Iron Man and Cap, and they're going to be adding the other ones in the coming weeks, right?
I think so.
I would love if we just, every time we got through a full set, it's like, okay, here's this new set, and then like check in, see when your main is going to get their outfit, like I think that's a super cool strategy for this because the Avengers are supposed to be a team, and I feel like teams should have some sort of like congruousness to them, I guess, if that's even a word, but like
Yeah.
Ultron in the MCU, in Age of Ultron, like Stark kind of like gave them all updated suits, right, for the Avengers. Like that's cool. Do that more,
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I think this is a really great initiative that they're doing. I wholeheartedly believe at a certain point in time, there will be, hey, get the Aerospace outfit bundle for X amount of dollars, where instead of just, manually purchasing, you can get all of these skins for however much money it ends up being. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that the Avengers are a team, like what you said, and if you want to, you should be able to customize them in a way that there is a level of parity. So this game, for all intents and purposes, right now in April of 2021, this is a single player game, and you're jumping into these war zones with your Avengers. And if you want to jump in with your Avengers that all look very similar with their skins, you can do that through this. So I think that's really cool. That's a very interesting way to implement skins. And even if these aren't all home runs, which we'll get to, it's a great first step at adding some parity between your team members in terms of customizing them. So yeah, it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and I think you're right to point out, like saying it's a great first step because I hope that this is the beginning of an initiative. I hope this isn't just like a one-off. Like they're like, hey, what if they all look like they're from space? Like I hope there's more to that. Because I do think maybe again a Halloween set, for the holidays might be nice.
Pumpkins, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think this is super super fun. And genuinely, I like most of them in this set.
Do you want to go over some highlights and some
Sure.
Maybe not so highlights?
I think Hulk looks wonderful. He's got like a wrestling onesie on. That looks so great, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like he's about to ball up. Looks like he has like a basketball jersey on.
Yeah, he looks fantastic.
I agree.
I think the Hawkeyes look awesome too. Like I like Clint's balaclava ski mask thing that he's got, right? Like
Good
so having it white and gold is cool. I think Kate looks great also. Thor also very good. I think that's a good instance of like a more Asgardian looking build with the color scheme because we've seen these Thor skins in the past. I'll probably get that one because I like it a lot. But
Yeah, and he's got the classic Thor helmet on from the comics, which I always love to see. So I agree with you. I think Thor's a good one too.
Hell yeah. Um, I think Cap looks fine. Widow, I can't think of. I think Kamal looks good too. It's really, I can't think of Widows. I think Cap's is fine, and then Tony's is funny.
Yeah, Tony, I think we did talk about this last week too with the ridiculously designed skin from the comics that he has like the cartoon eyes and looks like a kid kind of drew him.
Hmm.
A very divisive skin, but if you like that, it's here and it's white and gold now. I'm looking at the whole team right now, and Black Widow's skin sticks out to me because it looks very similar to her Stark Tech skin from the end of the main campaign. So it is kind of a little reskinned, but overall, I think I'm looking at the tweet that they put out, which is kind of like a 10-second video of them just standing at the home screen. I think if you look at the team as a whole, it looks really good and really put together. So, yeah, I'm excited for the future of this. I hope they keep doing stuff like this. I don't know if I would personally buy all of the skins for each character because that'd be a lot of money. But maybe if there's a bundle along the way, and maybe it's, I don't know, like what you were saying about the Wakandan potential skin, where everyone just has vibranium armor. Maybe that's enough for me to be like, this just looks cool. Maybe I'll just do that to start up the home screen with. So, yeah, I think bigger and better stuff is coming from this if they keep choosing to do this. But this is a really good first step in the initiative, I think.
Yeah, and I know you're an Iron Man main, and I know you hate the design of that suit, but you lucked out because the campaign gave you a white and gold Iron Man suit, and that's one of my favorite Iron Man suits in the game, personally. So,
Yeah, the one from the Cap rescue mission from
mhm.
space, that one is really, really excellent. And when you first put that on in the campaign, it's like, wow, this is nothing I've seen before for Iron Man. So, yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you had that suit on, he'd look like he fits perfectly fine with the lineup. So,
Yeah.
um, you mentioned though the idea of a bundle, right? Like I think that's interesting because we also had a little bit of insight this week about the MCU skins. So
Hmm.
the MCU skins have been clarified similar to the way that in the past we were clarified that the War for Wakanda expansion is free. Um, the skins for the MCU that are coming with the Red Room challenge takeover, they are going to be marketplace only. Um, Now, I think there's in the wording here, there's enough room that maybe we could earn like the white Black Widow suit from doing the Harm Room challenge, but I think like if you want like the Iron Man MCU skin, you have to buy that.
Yeah. So the tweet specifically reads, quote, to clarify, the outfits inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be available exclusively in the marketplace for purchase with credits, end quote. So it is pretty solid that for the most part, this is like the Xbox Bethesda conversation. You could
Mm-hmm.
probably just expect that most of these, if not all of them, they're pretty much saying all of them will be purchasable and not earnable. Um, Maybe like what you said, there is enough leeway, or they could backtrack and be like, hey, one or two of these will be earnable or free. But for the most part, yes, these will be purchasable skins that you need to pay for with the credits either you've earned or purchased with real money.
Right, and I would say honestly expect that, but
Yeah.
there's absolutely a world where I could see like there's two Black Widow skins. One is for the new movie through the challenge, and then the other one is like in the marketplace. It's like her classic, I don't know, Avengers 1 look maybe or Infinity War. I don't know. But uh yeah, so I know you were a little down that there's not going to be any earnable skins. I know we kicked around the idea of battle passes to earn a slew of MCU skins in the past, but I think this is an instance of I absolutely will want all of them. And considering, well, there probably won't be one for Kate, but considering there's what, or maybe there won't be one for Kamala either. There's gonna be six. That's like what, 1,400 you'd assume across six characters.
It's math
How
I
much is
can't do
that?
in my head, Christian. I'll tell you what.
So if it's 1,400 equates to $15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up the old
That's
calculator real quick.
8,400. That's 8,400.
Let me pull up the old calculator. 15 times 6. That's $90.
Yep.
I hope there's a pack. I really hope there's a pack.
I'm sure there will be.
Now, how much that pack will be,
Yeah.
I don't know. If it's Here's the thing, Jack. Do you have a cutoff point? Like,
If so,
how expensive do they all have, or does this theoretical pack have to be for you to be like, I'm not doing this?
it's a dangerous game, Christian. But
Yeah.
I don't want to, because we know Crystal Dynamics. They're listening. I don't want to. I don't want to highball them here.
Yeah, yeah.
But realistically, if I really wanted all of the skins, and they were like, we have a bundle for $20, which is, by the way, what is that? A third of the overall game itself. I think that's something I would consider. I think $20. I think that is something I would consider for skins. For skins, I think that for a $60 game, I think that is reasonable, in my opinion. What about you?
Oh boy.
Don't highball him, Christian. I knew you were gonna go higher,
Yeah, I know.
but go for it. Say it.
I don't want to say the. Listen, I spent how much did I spend on this game at launch? It wasn't like 70 or $80, I think.
Yep.
I Because the thing is, there's only 6 Avengers, Jack. There's the 6 main MCU Avengers. I love all the new ones, but like, there's the 6 core ones. So many memories to them. Do I need the Jeremy Renner Hawkeye outfit? No.
No.
But like, I would like it. So considering there's a world where buying them piecemeal is $90, I would maybe settle somewhere around $50.
Oh,
I know it's high. That's basically a full game, Jack.
That's a
Is this
full
worth
game.
it? It's not. But I think 50 is my cutoff for the pack.
right. So, like, realistically,
Yeah.
when I first reacted to this, I was very hot. Because the game's at such a fragile state, like what we talked about, that any bad news is just already under a microscope, and it is just not good to put that out there. It is good that they're communicating about that, and we can set our expectations now. But when I first saw that, I was like, I can't believe they keep just shooting themselves in the foot with this. It's not terrible, and I think we were expecting, for the most part, that these skins would be a way for them to just monetize the game with microtransactions. Like, that's kind of an expectation. I think just the fact that they were saying, hey, basically without necessarily saying it outright, none of these skins will be earnable, did disappoint me a little bit, because I do think it would be a really cool thing, like what we were saying with the Black Widow Red Room event coming out in May, or in the springtime, for them to be like, hey, if you want to do all the challenges associated with this drop, you get a skin out of it. You get the new Black Widow skin, or you get the Phase 1 Black Widow skin, whatever they want. I think that's a really good way of having people come back to the game and earn stuff, and earn tangible things like skins. But yeah, for the most part, sure, sell the MCU skins. I think everyone was sort of expecting that. But the phrasing of mostly all of these will be exclusive to the marketplace for purchase didn't sit well with me when I first read it. I've eased off a little bit, because realistically, I think we all expected that going in, but it'd be nice if they had a few earnable MCU skins. I think that could go a long way for a game that has a uphill battle, and I think it would just be a few nice steps along the way.
I agree wholeheartedly. After when you were saying that, I was thinking realistically about what even MCU skins they'd probably put in the game and which ones I like enough that I'd buy. I don't know if there are any, but I would still buy this, you know? So like I think you're that just proves your point. Like this game clearly underperformed financially, and I think the MCU skins are that silver bullet right now. Especially because we aren't paying for the Wakanda expansion. So like maybe I'll try to justify it as like it's a good faith purchase, you know. I liked the Hawkeye content. I'm excited for Wakanda. I would have paid for Wakanda, so Yeah.
Don't tell them these things, Christian. You got to stop telling them these things.
I know. But because we are fans of the game and we do enjoy this enough to pay ridiculous amounts of money for skins based on the MCU. It's worth to note that I'm still playing the game. Over the last week, I finally got Clint to 50 fully, and I don't remember if I did that last week, but he is maxed out. He has all the skill points, all the skill trees are chosen, and currently he's at power level 100. So,
Nice.
Looking forward to that finishing off.
I also got Clint to 50. I'm at the point, thank you. I'm at the point where I got to 50. I have all the skills available. I don't think I understand his character enough to type out him in a specific way for him to be useful for what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Either I don't understand it, or I don't think his character might not be that good. Maybe it's probably me not understanding it. But once you get to the nitty gritty with the mastery, sort of skill trees in that section, you really have to know the character to be like, all right, what are my criticals going to be? What is my support going to do in this particular situation? That sort of thing. And I didn't really quite grasp Hawkeye in such a tangible way for me to effectively map out his skills. Maybe I have to use them a little bit longer, but I don't see myself doing that. I think power level, he's like in the 80s maybe, and I probably won't push him past that too much further. But I am going after his challenge card, which I always do with my characters.
Very nice. Yeah, I think I really ended up clicking, I think, with Clint. And I thought I clicked with Kate really well, but I just think that, maybe it's because I'm more actively trying to play him this way, but I feel like I'm playing Hawkeye the way that Hawkeye operates in other Marvel content of, he's running around the battlefield. He's just, kind of keeping a distance from everything. And that's what I've been doing, really. I think because of those mastery skills, I'm gonna tackle it to be, ranged support and crowd control, because I did go for the fire tornado, so,
Hell yeah.
That works well for, clearing ads, and then, we have the support skill on the L1 that I think I selected the option to, boost intrinsic or overcharge, or, maybe the overcharge thing activates with the healing ring. I forget what I chose. But yeah, I've been playing him ranged more so than Kate. So I've really been just, finding a perch, especially in the harm rooms, going up on one of the pillars and then just sniping people. So it's a lot of fun. I like him a lot. And I'm hopeful that playing that character this way in a team-based raid scenario will make me feel like a good old Hawkeye in Avengers 1.
That's exactly how I play Iron Man in this game, where
Really?
I'll boost up, either just hover and shoot my missiles from afar, because they deal a ton of damage and a lot of splash damage too. Or I will find a perch, like what you said, mount my Iron Man up there, put a barrier next to me that does intrinsic, it ups my intrinsic and helps it replenish, and just hit people from afar and just do that and just stay out of the fray. So that's really it's really funny that we both seem to be sort of long range sniping characters.
Mm-hmm. And I finally did finish that Hulk iconic quest. I did the big Abomination boss fight with Hulk, who was very underleveled. I did that this week, but Hulk, I think, and Thor to an extent, but even with Thor, I played Thor pretty ranged. I relied on throwing Mjolnir all the time, and then just pinning people and doing thunder AoEs, and then people got close to me, I just punch them. So I did a kind of a balance. His stats were great on melee and ranged, but I focused on melee or range more. But even then, I feel he's a character that you should be playing melee probably, but I don't know. I just really like how range works in this game for some reason. It just clicks.
I agree. And I think the Hawkeye characters are you can really strike a good balance between melee and range, because they have both Kate and Clint both have some really good swords and some sword abilities. I actually think Clint maybe more so than Kate, but they both have some cool ranged abilities in terms of just their base range attacks as well as their abilities that you can use.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see a character like Black Panther come into play because, as far as I know, I don't think Black Panther will get any ranged attacks. I'd love if, like, the L2 R2 ability for T'Challa would be like pouncing. That'd be super fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can't see like a ranged like projectile attack with him. So
Maybe some like nanotech gadgets, but yeah, I agree with you. It's probably along. He's probably along the lines more of. A lot of people have said Captain America, but I think Black Panther's even more of like a brawler type character.
yeah, because Cap definitely has the shield still, and that's pretty key for range attacks. So.
Right.
But excited to see the future because again, all these characters play fantastically. But um, dipping into Stark Realities for a quick moment, we've talked a lot about monetization, skins, and cosmetic stuff for the game this week. But we do have some new content being added to the game this week through patch 1.5.1, which include flashback missions. Did you hear about this, Jack?
You're gonna have to explain this to me. Is this flashback missions in terms of playing through a campaign mission?
So I'm not 100% sure because I haven't played one yet, but I will read through the description from the War Table blog patch notes. Flashback missions show up on a daily rotation and can only be completed once a day. The rewards from these missions will now include legendary set gear if the hero is above power level 100. Gear slots will be determined by the mission in rotation for that day. For example, the Along Came a Spider mission will grant either a ranged or melee slot legendary item, while the next day's Mistaken Identity mission will grant a defense or heroic legendary item from the same set. I believe it is not campaign missions. I think it is just other missions that, pop up from time to time on the War Table, but they will have better equipped, better set roles for the stuff you can get from it, which, like, I think this is welcome because it's not too different from the way it was normally working. But this is good, I think, planting the seeds for when Gear 2.0 hits because you'll have a better set way of farming gear and having better, like, more sure of an idea of what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, this is one of those things where they'll announce something and I don't quite understand what it is, as it often goes for this game. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Gear is kind of a mess. I figured that out specifically with Hawkeye. I mean, you do this for every character, but I was going through with Hawkeye, and the grind to 150 doesn't really net you any useful gear until you get the 130 gear, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't even pay attention to it until you actually get like the high-end gear. And I was listening to Paul Tassi's video on Outriders, which is another sort of, I think, live service game where like gear and Destiny-like and Avengers-like systems are in play. And he was saying that unlike Avengers, which he covers a lot of the gear in Outriders is important even before the high-level stuff, and you pay attention to it more, and it matters more than it does in Avengers, which is saying something because you really don't care enough about your character and how they're spec'd out until you get to the high-end stuff, which is a little upsetting. So yeah, I think this might be a good step in the direction of them sort of rehauling that for future updates in terms of gear.
Yeah, because as far as I know, the way Outriders approaches it is similar to the way Destiny approaches it, where like you're getting guns that have specific quirks to them. And in Destiny, the gear you're getting you are getting, armor, which does have perks and stuff like that, the way Avengers does, but you do have a more immediate feeling because you're seeing the gun. It looks like the gun you rolled. It has the effects of the gun you rolled, and then it impacts the way you're playing and your elemental damage and stuff like that. Where Avengers, you don't see it, there's elemental modifiers to certain pieces of gear, but like to my knowledge, there hasn't been a scenario where there's been a boss that you need to have pin particles to do effectively. Like it seems like it's just for funsies. The modifiers they have, where something like a Destiny, and from what I hear of Outriders, it's like, hey, you rolled this piece, immediately you're gonna see it, you're gonna see what it does, and you're gonna feel the differences it has to gameplay. Where that is clearly not a strength of Avengers. We've barely talked about gear since launch of this game, you and I. It's mainly just like how combat and the combos and all that stuff works, and the way you think playing the game. And good gear in a game should, modify the way you think of that. But yeah, clearly here it's not great.
Yeah, now that I'm reading this more, it sounds like they've been talking about giving players a lot more choice. I think specifically with cosmetics, but gear they want to implement that too. It seems like what they're saying, like one day might be a defense legendary, and another day might be a heroic. So for me, with Iron Man, I want to spec out my ranged. So for me, I would really only pay attention to the ranged days for the legendary drops of the missions. Whereas for Captain America, I'm much more of a brawler and a mix of heroic as well with his heroic abilities. So I'd be paying attention on those days for him. So it's a good step. It's not quite there of what we want, but it seems way less random than just jumping into a hive or like a vault and being like, well, I hope I get the gear that I need. Because so more often than not, you'll complete those missions with utterly useless gear items that are super powerful, but not for your character. So it feels bad to sort of delete those when you don't need them, but sometimes you'll get super powerful. Not what's above legendary? Is it
Epic?
No, epic's below. Ultimate?
Exotic?
Heroic? Exotic. Yeah, you'll get exotic gear that is just utterly useless to you, and that's after doing like the Mega Hive, right? So yeah, there's definitely a gear problem. I think this is a good little step. I am curious how they're going to market that and explain which days are for which. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Maybe by next week we'll understand this a little bit more.
Yeah, and the one last thing I'll say on this is I can see a world where this sort of certainty becomes irrelevant with Gear 2.0, because I know a lot of people, myself included, really want to see Gear 2.0 bring on like a crafting system in a way that will allow you to spend resources to re-roll perks. So like say nanites maybe, like spend 1,500 nanites and you can re-roll one of the 3 perks for this exotic Iron Man chest piece, and then you have a better chance of getting the perk or the buff that you wanted rather than having to grind it out again, So I think a system like that being in place sort of eliminates the need for maybe this specific type of, hey, you want a defense gauntlet? Come do this, So like, we'll see how long this persists. I look at this the way I look at the way Tachyon Rifts were added, kind of. At least those brought on a new elemental type, but like, very minimal. You're probably barely going to notice this if you just pick the game back up and you put it down for a couple weeks. But worth noting that there could be implications here for the coming content.
Totally.
Well, that about does it for Avengers for the week. But meanwhile, stuff's going on with Marvel as a whole. 2 things I wanted to shout out this week. I saw that Marvel Comics is rebooting or kicking off a new run of Moon Knight ahead of the Oscar Isaac show, which is pretty cool. I might check that out. I'm not super familiar with Moon Knight outside of the meme about Dracula.
Yeah, this is a really good like marketing opportunity. Just to have the brand synthesis we've been talking about on the show with certain things. So yeah, it's cool. I know next to nothing about Moon Knight. I don't think I've ever seen him show up in any of the crossover event comics I've read. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but he's never played like a super major role, so haven't really paid attention to him basically until the Oscar Isaac news. So maybe I'll check it out if there's some good buzz about this Moon Knight comic, then yeah, maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, because I'm slightly familiar. I think I had like a Marvel visual dictionary when I was younger, or maybe he might have been in an Ultimate Alliance, but he's basically like Batman, but he has like the spirit of some Egyptian god with him or something. Like, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool character.
I don't want to misspeak, but is I know mental health plays a lot into his character. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe earlier, I don't know if this was redone, but I believe uh, he was associated to have schizophrenia,
Mm-hmm.
or like his powers sort of manifested in that way, I believe. But I'm pretty sure that was reconfigured over the last decade from some research I did when the show was actually announced. I like dipped back in and I was like, okay, let's see what's up with Moon Knight. And
Gotcha.
yeah, I also noticed that he has like a new, not in this run, but he typically has like just a pure white costume, big cape, big hood. I think about the time probably of them sort of reworking some of his origin, he shifted to having like an Agent 47 look to him, and like he
Ooh.
had just like a white tuxedo and a white mask with a crescent moon on the forehead. So like I don't know what approach they're taking. Both of them are cool though. So
Yeah. I'm interested to see what the tone of both the comics and the upcoming MCU project will be, because I there's so many different tones I can picture, like a reverence or just like super serious,
yeah.
like Batman esque. So I don't even know what they're gonna go with for that character. So yeah, this his character has me interested because I know next to nothing about Moon Knight. So maybe I will check this out. I'm eagerly anticipating the Oscar Isaac Moon Knight project. So yeah, this is cool news.
Hell yeah. The other thing I saw floating around a lot recently is that apparently Daisy Ridley has been having talks with Marvel Studios.
Interesting.
Do you have
Wouldn't
any wish for her?
um hmm
Cast Me Baby one more time. Call
yeah,
it back
cast
to
me
the
baby
original
one
run.
cast me baby one more time. I think Felicia Hardy maybe.
Ooh, that could
I
be
th-
good.
I think is Spider Woman a white woman in the comics?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Maybe Spider Woman. I immediately just jumped to Spider Man. I don't know why, but yeah, something along those lines. My hope for Daisy Ridley is that they give her a fleshed out character, because I think she's an incredible actor. And by the end of Rise of Skywalker, I didn't care for Rey as much as I would have, as much as I did at the end of Episode 7.
Hmm.
I don't think Disney treated her character as well as it should have, and I don't think it fleshed her out enough. And the ways that they did flesh her out was, I don't think, good ways to do. And I think they sort of fumbled her character. So, wishing all the best for Daisy Ridley, because I think she's great.
Yeah, I'd love to see her in like an X-Men role or something. Honestly, yeah, something that's decently chunky. Like giving her some stuff to work with and having some importance to the universe because I think she'd be a great addition, honestly.
Her and Tom Holland recently shared the screen. I think Chaos Walking is a movie. So,
Oh yeah,
hey, maybe they had some rapport. Maybe they show up in another project together. That'd be cool.
yeah, Black Cat. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, Black Cat needs to be in the MCU.
Yeah, she'll come eventually, I'm sure.
I
But
was so sad that she was in the Spider-Man 2 video game, but never in the Sam Raimi movie universe. I'm like, she was so cool in that game, and
hmm
yeah, she's never got. I don't think she's ever been in the live action any Spider-Verse movies. So
did you know that Felicia Hardy's in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 though?
yes, she's played by she's played by Jin Urso's actress. Isn't her name
Felicity
Felicia?
Jones.
Oh, Felicity Jones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was very subtle. Like, hey, next time, baby.
yeah. Oh boy. Well, we also this week have our third episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So why don't we dive into the third episode? Spoiler free, of course. General thoughts out the gate. Jack, what did you think of the third episode?
So this is the only episode so far that I've only seen once before recording. I thought it was good. It didn't blow me away in any particular way. I thought some of the action scenes were very interestingly filmed, specifically with Sharon Carter showing up. They had a really cool above the shot shot from one of the cameras, and I thought they sort of handled that action set piece pretty well. A lot of building, it seemed, in this episode. It wasn't like we got some answers from some things, but some characters were sort of sidelined to build what was going on with other characters. But yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable episode. I think it was a step towards what we're going for this show, and yeah, I liked it. I don't think it blew me away as much as maybe the first episode did, but yeah, it was a great episode. What do you think, Christian?
I greatly enjoyed the episode because I think this episode sort of rooted itself more in what my other expectation and hope for the show was, outside of, addressing the issues of racial injustice. I also wanted to feel like a follow-up to Winter Soldier, the film, and like more so than Civil War ever did. And I'm feeling that this episode, Jack. To me, this episode really was like, hey, we still know how to do a like Captain America, the Winter Soldier type story and tone and just sequence of storytelling, and it really worked for me because it felt like I was watching Winter Soldier still. Like I really loved the feelings they were throwing at me with this episode. Take like from a step back, yeah, you're absolutely right. Not a lot happened here. It really felt like we're getting from point A to point B. Next week will be point B, and this was the in between. But yeah, I think it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. So
There were a lot of moments for me where I sort of glazed over like what was happening. The whole Madripoor sequence, from them getting in the car to them escaping right up until Sharon Carter, I was like, I don't really understand what's happening here. It is a lot of like, hey, we need to do this thing to get to this thing so we can do that, right? It's kind of expository heavy, and Anthony Mackie's drinking something from a snake, and I'm like, we're playing Snake Eater at the same time. This is a little weird crossover. But yeah, there were some parts of this where I wasn't. I had to rewind a few times where I was like, what is even happening right now? Wasn't necessarily like a bad thing, and episodes building to something also is not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't really stick out to my mind from sort of what the previous episodes were doing. Like episode 1, I think for the most part, is fairly slow, and it's a lot of character and world building, and I loved that. For this episode in particular, isn't my favorite so far, but enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed all the Zemo stuff. I think they're handling his character very well.
Yeah, I thought it had a good, like, it was having fun, the whole time.
Yeah.
And we can dip into spoilers now for sure, but yeah, I really liked just all the planning. Like it felt like a Mission Impossible type thing. Like, hey, we got to get this done. We got to do this breakout. And like they were doing a bit of undercover work. So that was really cool. I liked just the general what we were doing, set piece wise. I enjoyed. And it did feel like it was touching back to more of that espionage stuff that I think Winter Soldier did better, but we haven't seen much of since then. So I really, really enjoyed that. And seeing Zemo fleshed out, I want to hear what you think about that, because like there's that line when I think Sam is like, oh, so suddenly you're rich, like, because Zemo in Civil War, I feel like at least the way they portrayed him seemed like he was a guy that might have worked at an office, and just like had a bad day with his family getting axed by the Avengers. But what did you think of fleshing out his personal life, his wealth, and his family pull as a character?
I think that's a fair critique of this, because you're right. In Civil War, he was one of the, I think at the time of that movie's release, he was probably the best villain in the MCU.
Yeah,
because
I still think he's up there.
Oh yeah, he's top 3 to top 5, for sure. Because he accomplished his goal, and like you were saying, he was. I think we knew from his past that he was somehow a part of maybe Hydra or not Hydra, but he was a soldier at some point or another, probably. But other than that, yeah, he wasn't a man of prominence that we really understood. In the comics, I think he was known as Baron von Zemo, so they're integrating that into his character now, and a lot of his wealth does seem like it is, hey, we need a plane ride somewhere. He's rich. He's got a plane, so he can do that. I kind of looked beyond that a little bit because I really love that actor, and I think he plays that character very well. It is definitely different than his like sort of smooth talking with like the hotel waiter, or just sort of, he was very manipulative in Civil War, and to an extent he is in this as well. I don't think we've seen a lot of that yet. I think we've seen a little bit with everything that happened in Madripoor, but I just think the way he speaks and the way he interacts with people is really interesting, because he just has the sense of, he can kind of manipulate people into doing things. Like, even though he doesn't have like full control over Bucky, he still is telling him what to do, and he's recalling, like, Winter Soldier, are you ready to attack now?
Yeah.
And Bucky has agency, but he's like, well, I guess I do have to do this. And yeah, I do like the idea of Zemo still sort of pulling the strings in his own unique way.
Yeah, I think like I really like Zemo. Him and T'Challa I thought were the highlights of Civil War, but seeing Zemo further characterized this way, it was an ask. It was like, hey, either you're cool with this or you're not gonna like it. Of like, he's also rich, because I am familiar with Baron von Zemo as the comic character, and I remember at the time of Civil War, people were like, oh, this isn't like what he is in the comics, and I'm cool with it personally. I think it's, he's a really good villain in Civil War, so if you want to continue to use this character, I think you have to sort of make him more than just he's a guy who had a bad day,
Yeah.
And I think you're right, he was a soldier in the past. So the logical jumps aren't too much for me. It was definitely something that I was like, am I cool with this? Yeah, it's fine. I'm cool with this. But I really liked, they made him kind of charming, like they gave him a swagger and an amount of charm that makes sense why in Civil War he was able to be that manipulative, right? Like, see, he's still doing it here. It's not to the same extent of, like you mentioned, with the Winter Soldier mind control stuff, but he's still, he's sweet talking the bar guy, the not the broker, but whoever got shot in that meeting, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's talking his way through a lot of problems.
Yeah, even Sam, when they were on the plane, and he was talking about Marvin Gaye, and I love that back and forth, by the way.
Yeah,
with,
that's great.
with Sam and Bucky, and Bucky's like, yeah, it's good, and Sam was like, yeah, well, Cap loved it. Cap was a big Marvin Gaye fan, and Bucky's like, it's great, it's fine, right? Okay, fine. And then Baron Zemo was like, he's right, it is it's a really great piece of music, and Sam was like, he's out of line right now, but yeah, I mean, he's right. So he even has a way of getting the main characters to sort of empathize with him in small different ways. So yeah, I think they're using his character well, and I hope by the end of this they don't mar his character from what we saw from Civil War, because as we've been talking about, like, he is one of the standout villains in the MCU for just being a dude who sort of lost it all, and like, he's not a super powerful soldier. He comes from wealth, but in Civil War, we didn't get that he used that wealth in a particular way to achieve his goals. He just sort of manipulated people and used people to achieve his ends, and wasn't really doing it for anything beyond revenge. And yeah, I think he's a compelling character. I hope they do him justice by the end of this.
Yeah, on a similar coin though, like, I hope they don't go full blown like, I'll get you next time, Avengers, and then
Yeah,
he just runs off,
totally.
like, It just becomes like like a cartoony bad guy, that like he'd be at the start of the next Captain America movie, the way Crossbones was, right? Like I hope they don't do that route with Zemo.
I agree.
I could see them go that route with Zemo, but I hope that they really keep him as this more methodical, playing chess type deal of a villain. Because honestly, the entire time there was action breaking out in this episode, I thought he was going to run away. I was really surprised in the end when he pulled up with the car. I was like, oh, okay.
I
I
did
was like,
too.
oh,
Yeah.
thought you were going to dip out of here, but cool.
Yeah, it
So,
it seems like his the ends haven't necessarily been met yet with his needs. So he still needs Bucky and Sam to help him out.
yeah, and I like that you phrase it that way too, because I definitely get the vibe of like, if he wanted to, I'm sure he could get away out of this. Like, he
Totally.
needs them, right? I like that.
Yeah. Man, I think the standout part there's a couple. The thing at the end, which we will talk about, but
Hmm.
the the jailbreak sequence I really enjoyed because it was one of those things where Bucky's talking about it as, oh, we need to do this, where
Yeah.
in actuality it's happening right now, and we're getting
Hmm.
him explaining it, and then Sam's like, no, we can't do that, and then Zemo just pops out. He's like, what? And I, I I thought it was shot well, and I loved the sequence of Zemo escaping, and um, I particularly liked how there's there's an obvious rift between Sam and Bucky, which we saw last episode, but it's becoming more tangible with Bucky just sort of breaking away from Sam and doing things on his own, and
Hmm.
Sam just having to go along with it because they're already at the point now where they're uh, acting out of pocket and acting illegally, so you just kind of have to
Hmm.
go with it. And I think that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this either last week or the week before, but I really love Bucky like more than I ever have, I think, because I think he's such an interesting character arc to like have here, or archetype, because like he is like he's not afraid to be like, yeah, I've done illegal stuff. Like I know I was pardoned, but I'll do it again. I know how
Yeah,
easy it is. Like I really appreciate that. I think that's fun. It works here because it feels like these two characters of Sam and Bucky are both like characters who were sort of like they got hired at the same time almost, and they were like in training for the same amount of time, and then like they both grew into their own sort of approaches, but they're still like on parity. I really like that about their dynamic, and having Bucky be the one who's like, hey, so yeah, I did this, like, was really great. And again, Anthony Mackie in this episode I thought was great. The way he was sort of like, it felt like Zemo was kind of the main character of the episode to a certain extent, but like just I still think Anthony Mackie is filling in that like leading man next Captain America character feeling of the direction of the show really well. Asking the right questions. I thought it was great when he was like, also, where the hell are we? Like in the garage, because like
yeah,
I was expecting them to like address that before Bucky went off on his whole tangent, and like right when I questioned it, Sam questioned it. So yeah, he did a great job this episode too, I thought.
how do you feel about Sharon Carter coming back? I think it's the first time since Civil War we've seen her.
Yeah, I like that she's bitter because she
Totally.
should be. I was worried that Sharon, and we could absolutely still get to this point. I was worried Sharon was just going to be like, Bucky needs a girlfriend, but I think like the way we introduce her in this episode, I think is very strong. It gives her a good update. I think we get more of a sense of her character than we have in the past. So like I really felt for her here, and I thought she did a great job. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with your point where I really hope she doesn't end up being that shoehorned romance role, which she kind of already was in Civil War, which
Mm-hmm.
they quickly backtracked from because no one
Yeah.
liked that, and it was very weird in general. But if we do need to fill that role for Bucky, which I don't think we do, I don't think we need shoehorned romances. I think it'd be cool if he just went back and finished his round of Battleship with that waitress. That'd be nice. She
Yeah.
seemed very nice and delightful, so that'd be cool. Because I could see that happening where he goes back and tells was it Yori that he, everything that happened, and along those lines he does that too. So maybe we could do that if you need to.
Yeah,
But
and
Sharon, yeah, go for it.
Marvel Studios, they've kicked around the idea of having an old frozen 100-year-old man falling in love with a waitress and staying in modern day, because we almost got Chris Evans and Ashley Johnson as like a
Yeah,
thing in the MCU.
you're right. You're right. They could finally achieve that goal. But with Sharon, I would much rather them just have her just be an independent person. Like, to do that again with a character that I felt like she was interesting in her role in Winter Soldier and Civil War was in a support role to Captain America, and then they just took her and put her in that direction with Cap, which I don't think anyone liked. I would hate to see them do that again with Sam, or excuse me, with Bucky.
Yeah, and did you expect them to like address the fact that Cap left and remarried or went back in time and married her aunt?
There might be a line coming up, but in practicality, they only shared a kiss, and I know in
Yeah,
movies that means more than it actually does in real life.
yeah,
But yeah, it might just be like, hey, we just smooched that one time. That was really pretty much it, and I think that's how the MCU is treating that. And honestly, that's just how people should treat something like that. That's really kind of
no,
all it
yeah,
was. So yeah, maybe there is a funny line like, "Hey, you had the hots for Cap." She's like, "Who wouldn't?" But that was kind of it.
sure. Also, I thought she had, Bucky's fighting the. Oh, I'll get to that in a second. But I thought her action fight was very well done, like you were mentioning earlier. Surprisingly graphic, that entire sequence at the
Yeah,
docks.
yeah. She threw a pole at. Was it her or maybe Zemo threw a pole at
No,
someone?
yeah, Bucky threw a pole and it pinned someone through their shoulder
Yeah,
like a shipping crate.
I was very surprised. And Sharon had some pretty brutal kills as well. Like, I like how they don't shy away from the characters we know and love, like straight up just killing people because they're bad
Hmm.
people. Captain America was wielding guns in multiple MCU movies because that's just kind of he was put in that position where he kind of had to do that. And Sharon was in this life and death position as well, and yeah, she was taking down some people pretty brutally. That I love I love that dude turning around the shipping container very slowly, and she just pops him. She was just standing
Yeah.
there. She doesn't do anything special.
I
Yeah, that was a great sequence, I thought.
I think similar again, Winter Soldier, Civil War also, I think to a lesser extent. I thought they shot action very well with their non-hero characters. Like I'm throwing Cap into that bundle, not like fantastical heroes. But yeah, that entire set piece was well shot, and it was getting back to that fighting style I like from Winter Soldier, of course, but a lot of knife kills.
Yeah.
That one knife that like went in the dude's arm, right?
Yep.
Like,
And he pulled it out.
yeah, like I was like, okay, Disney Plus, okay,
Yeah,
and
seriously.
then this isn't like it's not like Daredevil levels, but still, it was like kind of surprising to me. And
Yeah, totally.
also the one I loved was I think she like grabbed somebody's arm and like twirled them like in a 360 around her body, so then they were like on the other side of the shipping container so we couldn't see them. Then she did a headshot and then they fell.
Yeah.
That was a cool one. I like
Yeah.
that.
That was a great sequence. I really enjoyed it.
But I brought it up, Bucky's fight in the bar. We kind of glanced over that as well, but I love that because Zemo was talking about that little bit of the Winter Soldier that's still inside Bucky. I love that we got the Winter Soldier theme again, like when he
Yeah.
was doing that fight.
Yeah, we got the Winter Soldier theme, and I think we also got like the Zemo theme when he popped up. I love the MCU's at the point now where it does have those recognizable themes that they could just bring back and forth when applicable, and they used them, I think, very well in this episode. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to talk about the scientists at all?
Sure. I thought I was kind of distracted. I don't want to be like mean or anything. But I was very distracted by his acting. I was like, this seems a little. It seems a little out there. Maybe that was just me, but he didn't quite sound like the person, a kind of person we would see in the MCU. Maybe that's because he's only in one scene. But I was like, oh, okay.
You know, you're not alone here because you know what the only thing I could think of when I first heard him speak was
Sure.
Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor.
Oh my god, dude, me too. Immediate thought when I heard that. Yes. Ugh.
That's all I saw.
You're right. You're 100% right. I think I was thinking that like during the episode and I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you nailed it. He stuck out and I don't want to say a man. I'm glad that the man is dead in the continuity of the MCU, but I'm glad we won't see him again. Certainly glad about that.
Sure.
He was basically just an exposition dump from that character. I think he extracted from the important part was he extracted the like serum from I'm forgetting the character's name.
Isaiah.
Yes, Isaiah's blood, and was able to synthesize a. Look at all these scientific words I'm saying, Christian. This is great.
Oh, yeah, good job.
He's able to synthesize a.
You got a degree.
Yeah, not in science. As the serum, like the super soldier serum, and that's now. I think there was like 20 vials, and that's how they're out and about now these days, and that's how it happened. And presumably now that his lab is done, there's only a finite amount of super soldier serum left in the world.
Yes. So I believe we got 12 vials kicking around still.
Yeah.
Because at least the number we know is 8 because of the recon. And her name's not Erica. I don't want to keep calling her Enfys Nest. What's her real name in the show?
Yeah, you got me. You got me. I don't know.
Is her last name Montague?
Montague, no, Morgenthau?
Morgenthal.
Katie, Kelly.
Morgenthau?
Katie, Kelly.
Enfys Nest mentions that the power broker has to come to them now because they have all that's left of the serum. The scientist is dead, so he can't make more. They are all that's left for what they have, right? So clearly there are still some vials kicking around. I still believe that John Walker wants a vial of serum pretty bad.
Totally. Carly Morgenthau. Carly.
Thank you.
With a K
Carly
and an
Morgenthau. But yeah, I imagine that that's gonna be a pretty big finale moment, especially because this scientist was talking about how like, oh, we don't need the machines that Erskine had to use, the wiping out New York's power grid, like, and he's saying it's subtle, so it's not going to be a huge physical difference. Like Anthony Mackie's already buff. I really think there's maybe a potential for like something to be said about Sam making the choice to accept the responsibilities and downsides of the role of Captain America, and also unlike it was like forced on Isaiah, but like Sam making the choice to accept that. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff you can mine out of that, and I think by the end of the show, I'm really feeling it now. I think that he's going to end up taking the serum.
I think they could handle it in either direction very well. It could be a situation of John Walker accepting the role and wanting the serum to be Captain America, and Sam saying, Captain America isn't about the serum. It's not about the strength. It's not about X, Y, and Z. It's about being a symbol and everything that encompasses beyond the physical attributes. I think that could be a really interesting way of tackling it. They could also just Sam being like, could essentially just be like, I need to, like what you're saying, accept this role, and there are going to be threats that require the amount of strength that we've seen with Thanos and X, Y, and Z. So Sam being like, I don't want to do this, but I think it's necessary, and yes, I'm going to accept the serum. I think either way I'd be totally fine with. They would just have to sort of maneuver it in a compelling way, which I think they will.
Agreed. Another scene I really liked, like I do think there was a lot of really strong character stuff in this episode. On the second time we're on the plane after the whole shebang goes down. We have Bucky talking to Sam about the shield again, and Bucky's basically saying like, "Hey, if you don't want to be the next Cap, I'm gonna take the shield from this dude, and I will be that because it's bigger than me." Like, I really liked that a lot from Bucky there.
Didn't he say he would destroy it?
Sam said he destroyed. I think Bucky
Oh,
said
okay.
that. I think the way it was phrased was like, Sam was like, "Hey, I should have destroyed it. I shouldn't have given it back." And then Bucky was like, "This means so much to so many people. There's so much meaning here, and it means a lot to me too. And there's a responsibility there. If you don't take up the shield, I think I might be paraphrasing, but he's like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna go take it back from that guy, and I'll do it."
Yeah.
So,
I think before they announced the show, and before Endgame definitely, I was really interested to see, like when Chris Evans was done with this, if they would hand that role to Sebastian Stan, because I think that would have been a really interesting idea for someone who was like this hitman and had all this all this trauma that he has to deal with and all this immense guilt. And Cap giving the shield to his best friend and saying like, "Look, I know this is in your past, but you have like a new future that you could chart with being this symbol." Obviously, I like much better. I like the direction that they're going with Sam taking that, but there was that avenue back in like, I don't know, 2017, 2018, where they could have done that with Bucky, and that would have been, I think that could have been an interesting take on the character. But yeah, we're not getting that, but I do like how Bucky acknowledges that could have been me, or not necessarily that could have been me, but this symbol is important, like what you said, and someone needs to take it.
yeah, because I remember back in 2014, remember there was like the trailer for the Winter Soldier where those who knew about Bucky, they showed the Winter Soldier holding the
Yeah,
shield like in
right.
that fight, and then ever since then people were like, oh, they're planting the seeds, Bucky's gonna be Cap eventually. But I personally, I like the idea of Sam Wilson being Captain America more. I feel like I always have, because I think Bucky's an interesting character you can mine on his own, and I think clearly the show's doing that. We didn't get much of it this episode with him sort of dealing with the repercussions of the Winter Soldier, but I do think that Bucky has a lot of potential still to be a great character moving forward, and I don't think he needs to have the shield to do that. But like you said, him acknowledging that and sort of like just vocalizing that in universe of like, hey, if I need to do it, I will do it. If you don't want to do it, because I think clearly like half of Bucky's like personality in life is tied to the idea of Captain America. So I really liked that they at least shouted that out, even though I know it's not going to happen, and I'm glad it's not happening. It was a cool moment.
Quick note about the format of the show. I love week by week format. I think I always have, but I think this show, unlike WandaVision, and I know people don't like comparisons to WandaVision. Whatever, I'm going to do it. This is very much feels like a 6-hour project that just so happens to be broken up episode by episode, whereas WandaVision was. Each episode was a very specific episode, and it was centralized in that 30-minute chunk. And I think the reason I wasn't so hot on this episode, I still really like it and really enjoy it. It's not going to be a standout episode to me, I don't think, is because it feels like we're in the middle of the 6-hour run of a project that just so happens to be episodic, right? And I'm glad that they're doing week by week. I like popping in every Friday morning to avoid Twitter and just seeing what's going on in this particular week. And I like having it doled out in doses. But I do think this show probably could have just been, hey, it's out, it's episodic, it's 6 hours. You can watch it all now. Again, I'm glad they didn't do that, but it does feel like that sort of a project to me.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to touch on too. I agree with what you're saying about the differences between WandaVision. I'll also add that I was watching this show, right? And I really, really loved this episode because I was watching, I was just thinking, like, this is like when I was really in on reading comics like a summer or two ago. Like, this is that feeling of like waiting a week and like picking up what's next and continuing the story. Like, and the fact that it's the actors we've known for the past decade doing this on this scale, like, I really, at the end of the episode, I was like, how am I gonna feel when I walk out of a movie theater after Black Widow and that's it? That's just the Black Widow story. Like, I really, really think, and we've talked about this, the MCU just being a big television show, right? Like, the format of comic books and comic book characters and the types of stories you can tell in them, I think is so much better suited to like serialized storytelling. So like I really and clearly like they don't lose anything because this feels like it could be a movie. I really think that like if there's a future where the MCU is, every month it's a 4 to 5 hour movie, and then maybe once a year or every other year we get a big Avengers movie in theaters. I don't know if I would hate that. I think that might be honestly a good evolution for the type of storytelling the MCU does because I'm loving it personally.
I think if it fits for the project, then by all means. And my faith is in Marvel Studios wholeheartedly at this point. They have taken like a decade plus to prove to me that they know what they're doing, and I'm going to watch whatever they put out, however they put out. Um, I'm glad that this is a TV show, and I think it was obviously specifically suited for a show. I do like the idea of them having different avenues to release their projects. Like, if they want to
Mm-hmm.
release a Black Widow movie as a movie, then go for it. If they want to release, they won't, and they shouldn't probably, a sequel to WandaVision as a TV show, go for it. Or whatever project they want to do, the Hawkeye series as a TV show, go for it. Just for me, I think this particular project seems more like a 6 hour chunk of a project rather than specifically released episodes that are all contained within themselves. I know WandaVision is a very specific example of that because it's doing a very specific thing with its episodes. But yeah, I think we're just at the point in this particular 6 episode run where we're kind of in the middle of it right now. And there is that point in the middle of movies where it's like, okay, we're getting somewhere. We're sort of building up to what's happening in the third act, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
kind of there right now. So for me, that sort of stuck out, not in too negative a way. I still really enjoyed myself with this episode, but that's sort of what I am thinking about that.
Yeah, sure. And I think we might get into a position where, in with future films, now that we do have this option on the table, I think it's gonna be a much more frequent talking point of like, oh, I wish this was a show instead. I think that there's potential for that now, just with the types of stories they're telling. So I'm curious. Again, I think Black Widow is the one I'm really focused on because if it's like a spy story, I feel like spy stories are good if you let them breathe a little bit. So like we'll see. But definitely something like an Eternals or a Doctor Strange. I think that spectacle can be. It makes too much sense. Like of course you want to have that on a movie theater screen, and that's not to say that something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier couldn't have been on screen or Black Widow shouldn't be on screen. But like I think it's going to be a much more like central talking point moving forward of people pining for what it could have been if it was in the other format.
Sure. At the end of the day, I'm glad specifically that this is a TV show because I think we're getting way more characterization in these two characters that we just haven't seen all that much of comparatively to like Captain
Mm-hmm.
America, for example. And I think TV is a really great venue to really explore the minutia of characters. So, in that
Mm-hmm.
regard, very glad this is a TV show. I wouldn't have wanted this as a movie because, like I said, I just trust whatever Marvel's doing. But
Mm-hmm.
if they release this all at once on a Friday, I think that might have served this particular show better. But who's to say? Hasn't reached its end yet. But I'm just in the throes of it right now, where I'm like, okay, we're kind of just in the middle of it right now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So we do leave off on a pretty uh, unexpected note,
Yeah.
right? Like, we okay. I'm gonna sound like an idiot here. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I remember, I think in the original run we had a conversation about these Spider-Man posters on like what part of the world this was from. Is Latvia a real place, or is that the Doctor Doom country?
Okay, now that you said that, I was gonna say that's a real place. Um, Latvia is
Is
indeed
it
a country in Europe.
Latveria? Is
Uh,
that Doctor Doom?
that sounds more like a fake country. Sorry to
I
anyone who's
think
from Latveria if that's a real country. No,
no. Well,
Latvia is a country on the Baltic Sea, which I
okay,
think Sam mentions.
okay. Yeah, well, like I mean, like Sokovia is a
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like next to the Ukraine, right? Like it's. So I was curious. I saw Latvia. I was like, wait, are we about to drop like a Doctor Doom thing? Uh, Out. It was early in the morning. I had not had my coffee yet. I'm sorry, Marvel
Latveria is
fans.
the fake Doctor Doom country. You nailed it.
Yes. After I said Latveria, I was like, wait, no, that's absolutely the right place. So not yet, but I know we're talking about this Madripoor thing. You get lots of X-Men ties, right? Like what the hell's up with that? I don't know,
Hmm.
but I was expecting that maybe we get a Victor von Domashev. Wasn't that the Fan Four Stick guy's name?
I don't know. I never saw that.
But we did not see Doctor Doom. We saw a member of the Dora Milaje. Bucky saw one of the like Wakanda bracelet beads that they use for their technology just laying around for surveillance, and he found a little trail like he's Hansel and Gretel, and then he finds a Wakandan soldier.
Yeah, that was you're right. That was so surprising because you would expect John Walker and Lamar, forgetting his last name.
Hoskins.
Yes, thank you. Lamar Hoskins are basically trying to track Bucky and Sam because they don't necessarily know what they're doing right now, and Bucky and Sam have better leads than they do. So I was expecting uh, the new Cap, John Walker, to just be standing there at the end of the episode and be like, "Yeah, of course they're following them." I have no clue what they're doing with the Wakanda involvement at all. I truly don't know where this is going. Maybe they have a personal stake in Zemo because Black Panther obviously like helped. Well, obviously, Zemo killed their former Black Panther and their king. So I would maybe now think they probably want to arrest him or kill him or whatever they want to do with him, punish him in some way. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably where they're going. But yeah, didn't expect anyone from Wakanda to show up in this show.
Yeah, that was super surprising. I love that we're getting some Wakanda tie, and I love that it's Bucky that found it, and he's the one who knew because, like, I think we talk about it in this episode too. Like, I think Sam brings it up to Bucky. Like, Bucky's like has a huge tie to Wakanda. Also, he spent a good number of years there, right? Like at least a year or two, like in recovery.
Yeah, therapy, honestly, for him. Like very therapeutic, just chilling on a farm, doing farm work, being called the
Yeah,
White
and
Wolf.
he kind of retired there for a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
I think there's like definitely a huge tie to Bucky's character in Wakanda. So the idea of him being the one who's going to be this intermediary when he's the one that broke Zemo out of prison, I think is going to be very interesting.
Mm.
And like you said, I'm curious to see the involvement of Wakanda in the rest of the series. I'm wondering if it is just like a bartering thing of we want Zemo in our jurisdiction for trial or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not expect that at all for this show.
And it makes total sense now that we're talking it through because when I saw that person show up, I was like, and with the Wakanda technology and the theme I think they had as well, I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, where are we going with this? But yeah, obviously this is definitely, you said this is a sequel to The Winter Soldier. In a lot of ways it is. And for me, I think of it more as a sequel to Civil War. Obviously it is like the logical continuation of the Captain America story, and it's the next sequel. But there's a like with Zemo and this like the super soldier serums and like the Winter Soldier stuff going on. There's a lot of Civil War connections, and now obviously following up on the death of King T'Chaka, right?
Hmm.
With the Wakandan people. So yeah, this is really interesting. I was not expecting the show to deal with that really.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see the scale of the involvement. Maybe this is just, planting a seed for like the end of this series. Zemo is in Wakanda, and then we'll touch on that maybe with the next Ryan Coogler project. But
Mm.
yeah, that's super cool, and I hope that like I think it would be really cool if we got more of like a stake in this series from Wakanda because they were really important in Infinity War, right? And obviously the final battle of Endgame, but it would be nice to sort of like check the pulse. I feel like because we travel around the globe constantly, so like you'd imagine at one point, especially after Black Panther, where T'Challa was like, "Hey, we want to get more involved with the rest of the world," that like they'd be popping up more frequently. So I'm glad that it's starting here. So
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. We haven't really seen too much of that, and it will be interesting now, especially after the blip and all the fallout with that, because yeah, with Black Panther, it was so close in proximity to Infinity War and the results of that movie, so we didn't necessarily get to see that, like what you were saying. So yeah, it's cool. I love Wakanda. I love in any MCU project we go there to. That's a great visit, and I like going there. So I'm glad that is being incorporated in this show.
yeah, it really caught me off guard, and it was a super hype moment when I saw it happen.
Totally.
Now I have one last question because we know WandaVision every week to week it was always like, oh, Mephisto, but we got this power broker situation going on, nameless being or faceless being. Uh, is it a character we know? Is it a character we should know? Is it a character that everybody's gonna act like they know who they are once the reveal happens and be like, oh, of course, it's this character from the comics,
Yeah.
right? Like we all know that.
Yeah, yeah.
What's up?
That's a good point because they're purposely not showing him, or them rather. And usually, I don't want to say usually, but sometimes we get it's the power broker, and they show like a screened image of him or like a mugshot of him or something, and then it's like, oh, that's our dude. And I think last week I was trying to say who this character was because we were talking about the text message that Carrie Underwood got. No, what's her name? Carly Morgenthau got. And it was like, you took what was mine and like, I'm going to kill you for it or something like that. I'm pretty sure that was from the Power Broker. Now that I think that's what I was trying to explain. And it seems kind of like that's what that was. And that's another example of not seeing the character, but hearing from the character. So it's very possible it could be someone we've seen in the MCU. I don't know who that would be. And now, we've seen one particular character deal with Super Serum Soldier in the MCU. And
Ross?
yeah.
Dude, what if this is setting up the Thunderbolts?
I think that there was some speculation about that before the show started.
Oh man.
That
Man.
we don't know what happened to Ross after the blip. And some people are speculating that maybe he was the president. Because who knows? Man, maybe. It could be. We haven't seen the character. And I don't want to get my hype up. But maybe. Just maybe it is
Red
someone we know.
Hulk, dude. Red Hulk.
Yeah, bringing back... Isn't that actor coming back at some point? Oh, wait, no.
Hurt, I think is...
Yeah, is Ross, right.
Yeah, I believe he's in I think he's in Black Widow. But, yeah, dude. I could definitely see that. Especially if we got all these vials heading around. I think U.S. Agent at one point, the other moniker for John Walker in the comics, I think he becomes a Thunderbolt. So, like, what if, dude?
Explain the Thunderbolts to me. I've stopped watching new Rockstars videos because they don't ruin the shows for me or any of the projects, but I don't want to be spoiled by things that I don't know about, and now I can expect them. I did hear them talk about in the first episode the Thunderbolts. I have no clue what that is. Can you explain that?
So, To my knowledge, I have yet to read any Thunderbolts stuff, but I believe they are either anti-heroes or villains. They're basically the Suicide Squad, but like
Gotcha.
not as edgy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's like it's a team of people who have done bad things. Like Ghost Rider's been on it, like Hawkeye's been on it. I'm pretty sure. So like it's people who can skirt the line, uh, and like can be used as expendable. It's like the Expendables, maybe if you want to do that.
Now that you're explaining it, that makes sense for this show because that team seems like a get the job done, no questions asked. And we did see John Walker talk to Battlestar, and was essentially like Battlestar was like, "Aren't they going to question like how we got them?" And John Walker was like, "I mean, if we get the job done, they're not going to be asking the question of how we did it." So, Tina,
You're so right,
maybe
dude.
teeing it up.
Because the thing is, we talked about it also. Like, I feel like they're not setting John Walker up to be a villain. He's just kind
Right.
of a shit dude.
Yeah, we didn't
And like,
we didn't talk about him too much. You're right. We got a little bit more with him this time of him
yeah, and I
being like
think,
a shitty reactionary person.
yeah, dude, when he got spit in his face, like, and he lunged immediately, I was like, if that happened to Cap, he would have wiped it off and just looked disappointed,
Yeah,
and then just like kept his cool. Like, oh man,
it
but
gave the "Don't you know who I am" line. Yeah,
yeah,
God.
oh my god. Uh, but yeah, I could totally see because we know Hurt wants a team that he can not hurt. Ross wants a team that he can just point at something and then shoot, and then they do the job, right? Like that's what he wanted the Avengers to be with the Sokovia Accords.
Hmm.
And if John Walker is like doesn't want to be Captain America or whatever ends up shaking out, right? But he's still a player. If we get U.S. agent involved, like, and he's the spearhead of the Thunderbolts for Ross, who is like funding a government like organized group that we're in direct control of you. You're basically a SEAL team for us. I think that might be really interesting. I could see that happen because I don't think John Walker's going away. I don't think he's going to be Cap. You
Yeah,
know?
definitely not gonna be Cap. I can see him sticking around in some way or another. In the same breath, I also kind of just hope that by the end of this, John Walker's like, you know what? I shouldn't have done this. I was in over my head. I'm clearly not cut out to be the symbol that people need. Um, I hope I feel more empathetic to him rather than him doubling down on being the person he already is and just going off to
Mm-hmm.
the Thunderbolts. Um, so this is a possibility. This is a possibility because we haven't seen this mysterious power broker, and it could be someone we know. I actually do think it might be someone we know because they're going out of their way not to show this person.
Yeah. And I think you're right to highlight Ross because there's only a handful of people that could be in that position that we haven't checked in on in a while, and we probably know because again, like the way it's being written, you're right. Like that is how you write a reveal of someone we know, like textbook almost,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So, we'll see. I guarantee you we got at least some prediction right on this week's discussion, but we'll check in next week and see what's going on. But until then, Jack, any final words on this episode of Falcon? If not, where can everybody find you?
Sure. I like where the series is going. I think it's going along some lines where I sort of expected, where we did get some sort of, yep, this is just MCU action kind of stuff. Some of it was good. Some of it was kind of, my eyes glazed over at certain parts. But, the show's dealing with race and in some really interesting and important ways. I think we'll continue to get more of that. It is introducing some ways of tackling characters that I didn't expect with Zemo and now with Wakanda. So it is continuing to surprise me as the MCU often does, and I'm excited to see. We're halfway there. We've reached the halfway point, so excited to see the latter half of the show now that we've sort of built everything. But yeah, you can follow me on social media at Fascinated Jack. Christian and I have a podcast along with our friends Omar and Kevin, in which we're talking about Metal Gear Solid. we are finishing up Metal Gear Solid 3. It will be available sometime in the future when you're listening to this. And we've had some opinions about that game.
Game sucks.
Not so positive ones. Not that it sucks, but it is.
I know.
It's not. We're not looking at it as fondly as some others do. So, if you're interested in that, you can go check out the Long Play Club on YouTube.com/JoyClicks or on podcast services. What about you, Christian?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Chun2D2, as well as what Jack mentioned. We have our other podcasts here on youtube.com/joyclicks. If you're watching the video version of Excelsior, you're already there. If you want this show in audio format, though, you can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any podcast service of your choosing. You look up Excelsior, you see Excelsior Marvel's Avengers podcast, you're looking at the right show. If you enjoy the episode, it would be greatly appreciated if you follow the show, if you leave a review, or give us a quick 5-star rating. Just a little quick tap. Makes it all good for us on the back end, so we appreciate that very much. And if you want to support the shows further, patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 tiers gets you producer credit like Chris Sakas and Aaron Easton. So thank you very much. And that's going to do it for this week with Marvel. So we will see what the future holds for Marvel's Avengers. Hopefully an update on some of that spring tachyon anomaly stuff in the coming week, and another episode of Falcon. But until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.